Shipra Kanoria. I'm a Principal Product Manager on Amazon Bedrock, and today I'll be talking about scaling generative AI workloads with efficient model choice alongside my colleague John Liu. We also have Richard from Robin AI and Masahiro Oba from Sony Group, who will also talk about how they're using Bedrock for their use cases. So here's a quick agenda for today. First, I'll talk about a customer challenge that all of you face when you're building your generative AI applications. And then we'll go deeper into 3 features that were announced yesterday: intelligent prompt routing, model distillation, and Amazon Bedrock Marketplace. So what is a challenge that all of you here face when you are building your generative AI applications? It is to optimize for this triad of quality of responses from foundational models, their cost, and the speed of their responses. Larger foundational models give better quality of responses and are more accurate, but they're also costly to operate and can sometimes take a longer time to respond. Smaller models, on the other hand, are faster, they're more cost efficient, but they don't really match the accuracy of the larger models. And what all of us here want is really to kind of have the form factor of the smaller models, which is faster, cheaper, with the accuracy of the larger models. And we are introducing new features to help you accomplish just that. So first, I'm going to talk about intelligent prompt routing. What is intelligent prompt routing? It allows you to use a combination of foundational models for your application so that each prompt can be routed to the model that is best suited for it. And by using a combination of foundational models, you can get better accuracy and lower cost than using a single foundational model. The feature was announced in preview. We are offering 2 routers in preview. One is an Anthropic router that allows you to route your requests between Claude Sonnet 3.5 and Claude Haiku. And second is a Meta prompt router that allows you to route your requests between the Llama 8 billion and 70 billion models from the 3.1 family. We will be adding support for more models and more model families very soon. So how does intelligent prompt routing work? You give intelligent prompt routing 3 inputs, which is the prompts, which is the fundamental core for any generative AI application. You give the choice of models that you want to use for your generative AI application. This choice of models need to be from the same model family, and you provide a routing criteria. This routing criteria is the acceptable response quality difference between the larger model and the smaller model. So what is the response quality that you are willing to accept between the models that you're using for your generative AI application? When you provide these inputs to the prompt router, it first encodes the prompt to understand what the prompt is about. It then uses a model that we have trained to predict the performance of each of the models for that prompt. Once it predicts the performance of each of those models, it uses the routing criteria that was provided by you to route it to the right model. I'll explain this more with an example. So I mentioned that we announced an Anthropic prompt router in preview that routes between Claude Sonnet 3.5 and Claude Haiku. The routing criteria or the response quality threshold for that default router is set to 0%. What does that mean? The prompt router will route to Claude Haiku only when the performance of Haiku matches the performance of Sonnet 3.5. For all other cases, it will just route to Sonnet 3.5. This helps you achieve the accuracy of a Sonnet 3.5 for your applications where Haiku performs just as well as Sonnet 3.5 at a lower cost. The response quality threshold is fixed right now, but you will be able to configure it very soon. You can set it to even to a higher number. Let's say you set it to 10%. So when you set the response quality to 10%, the prompt router will route to Claude Haiku every time the response of Claude Haiku is within 10% of Claude Sonnet 3.5. And you can set this number based on your use case and your application. Here are some benefits of intelligent prompt routing. You can choose your own models that you want to use for your prompt routing application, and these models need to be from the same model family. You can access prompt router through a single serverless endpoint through Bedrock Invoke and Converse APIs. You can define your own routing criteria, as I mentioned, which is the acceptable response quality difference between the largest model and the smallest model that you use for your generative AI applications. And lastly, in future, you will also be able to align the predictions of this prompt router for your application by providing ground truth data. Now let's see some examples of this prompt routing in action. Here I've selected the Anthropic prompt router on the Bedrock console. You can see on the left-hand side that it's routing between Claude Sonnet 3.5 and Claude Haiku, and the response quality difference is set to 0%, as I had mentioned here. I gave this prompt router, you can access the prompt routers in the Bedrock console. I gave this prompt router a simple question. Hey, give me 7 different types of marketing copy for phone that I can post on Twitter. This is a very simple task for a foundational model, generating marketing copy for a phone. So you can see here that this request was routed to Claude Haiku by this prompt router. Next, I gave this prompt router a more complex prompt. I asked it that how would you measure 2 liters if I give you a 1 liter jug and a 4 liter jug, and none of those jugs have any markings, by the way, and tell me step by step on how you will use a 1 liter jug and a 4 liter jug to measure 2 liters of water. This requires some computation. It's a more complex query. So you can see that the query was routed to Claude Sonnet 3.5 in this case, so that I can get a better response. We'll now talk about some of the customer use cases where intelligent prompt routing can be used. Intelligent prompt routing works great if you are building chatbots for your companies, for your generative AI applications. A chatbot gets a variety of queries, and not all of these queries need to be handled by the most performant or the largest model. By using intelligent prompt router, you can send simple queries to the smaller model that typically performs as well as a larger model, and only send the more complex queries to the larger model. An example of this is, let's say your company is building a travel chatbot. You use intelligent prompt router for that chatbot. When that chatbot is asked simple questions such as, hey, suggest me some travel places in Europe, or suggest me some travel places I can visit in summer, it would typically send it to a smaller model like a Claude Haiku or a Llama 8 billion. But when you ask that travel chatbot to prepare an itinerary given some complex constraints, it will route it to a larger model such as a Claude Sonnet 3.5 or a Llama 70 billion. Next, I want to talk about model distillation. Model distillation is the process of taking the knowledge of a larger model, which is called the teacher model, and transferring it to a smaller, more cost-efficient and faster model, which is called the student model. How does model distillation work? You take the prompts and you run it through the larger model or the more advanced model, which is called the teacher model. The teacher model generates the responses. Now you take these prompts and responses to build your data set to fine-tune your smaller model, which is the distilled model. So in addition to automating this entire process of distilling the knowledge from a larger model to a smaller model, Bedrock model distillation also provides you with proprietary data synthesis techniques to generate diverse and high-quality data sets to distill your models. Let me show you how. So first, you can use your own production data for model distillation. To use your own production data for model distillation, you need to enable invocation logs in the Bedrock Invoke and Converse APIs. When you enable the invocation logs in Bedrock Invoke and Converse APIs, you can also set request filter tags. These request metadata filters enables you to filter your invocation logs later. Once you have enabled invocation logs for your Invoke and Converse APIs, when you are doing Bedrock model distillation, you can simply provide the link to your invocation logs so that the Bedrock model distillation uses your production data that you have already generated using a large teacher model to fine-tune the smaller model, which is the distilled model. You will see that you can also add metadata filters here so that you can filter the data that is most appropriate for your use case to fine-tune the distilled model. And lastly, you can also decide whether you want to provide access to only prompts or you want to provide access to the prompt response pairs. If you provide access to the prompt response pairs, Bedrock just uses that data to distill your model. If you provide access only to the prompts, Bedrock will generate responses using the teacher model. One key point to note here is that this invocation logs or this production data should be generated with the same model that you plan to use as the teacher model for your model distillation. You can also use Bedrock's proprietary data synthesis techniques to generate more data. Several customers have told us that this remains one of the biggest challenges when they are doing distillation on their own or they're fine-tuning their applications. You can simply provide prompts. Bedrock understands your use case and then generates and uses proprietary techniques to generate the right synthetic data for your use case. Here's how it works. Let's say you only provide prompts to Bedrock model distillation. It will likely generate similar prompts and then use the original prompts and the new prompts and generate responses for it. Let's say you provide a golden labeled data set, which is a prompt response pairs. When you provide that, it will generate similar responses from the teacher model using the golden data set that you have provided. So with Bedrock model distillation, we give you a choice on how you want to create these data sets to create your distilled model. Everything I spoke about Bedrock model distillation is available through a single flow in the Bedrock model console. You select the teacher model. In this case, you will see that it is the Llama 405 billion model. Then you select a student model. Today, we are offering Bedrock model distillation for 3 model families. We are offering it for Amazon, Anthropic, and Meta models. I also want to mention that when you select the teacher model and the student model, they need to be from the same model family. Once you select the teacher model and the student model, you can choose how you want to generate your data or how you want to create your data set to fine-tune the smaller model. You can either use invocation logs, as I mentioned, which is your existing production data that you have generated with the larger model, or you can use data synthesis by providing a few examples, and Bedrock will generate more data to fine-tune the smaller model to create a distilled model. And you can also provide an S3 location to provide your output metrics. Now, I would like to invite Richard on stage, CEO of Robin AI, and he will talk about how he has been using Bedrock model distillation at Robin AI.
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Robinson, the CEO and founder of Robin AI. We're an AI legal company. We make AI that can help our customers answer critical questions about their contracts. So imagine customers want to know which of my many contracts will auto-renew in the next 3 months, or they want to know which of these contracts require me to tell my suppliers if I'm changing data provider. All sorts of critical questions enterprises need to answer about this vast swathe of unstructured data. They use our systems to help them answer those questions. And the big challenge that we have in providing this kind of service is that it's critically important in the legal domain that the answers that we give to their questions are as accurate as possible. We have state-of-the-art accuracy levels, and accuracy captures a number of different dimensions. In this particular case, it's about how detailed the answers are, whether the answers come with citations, correct references to source material, whether the answers are helpfully crafted, etc. And so it's really important that we focus on accuracy. But the result of that focus is that we end up having to use the biggest models available. And as we all know, those are often slower than comparative models and are usually significantly more expensive. And so we're trying to have the best of all the worlds possible. We want extraordinary accuracy with incredibly low cost and incredibly low latency. How do you do that? Well, we tried by using the Bedrock model distillation process. And initially, we took what I think is a fairly naive approach where we relied upon the invocation logs. We took responses from the teacher model. We used those to fine-tune a smaller model. We chose Llama 405B as the teacher model and its smaller model in the model family as the smaller model. And we just measured the results. And we capture accuracy as being about these 4 criteria you can see on the slides here around correctness, helpfulness, completeness, and clarity. And accuracy is measured on a scale of 1 to 5. The bigger the number, the better. And you can see that the distilled model already shows relative parity to some of the other models that we're using, the teacher model, but not quite the kind of accuracy levels that we want to see. It's definitely achieving the rapid speed, so low latency. We're getting lots of tokens per minute. It's achieving significantly reduced costs, but still room for improvement as it relates to accuracy. And so what we did next is we, just like you heard about earlier, used the Bedrock data synthesis techniques to essentially improve the amount of data and the diversity of the data being used to fine-tune the smaller model. And you can see that it makes a dramatic impact. The new distilled model is essentially operating at about 98% of the accuracy of the underlying teacher model, but we're getting all of the benefits we hoped for as it relates to speed and cost. And when you're looking at thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of contracts, millions of tokens, because these are very long documents, a 66% cost saving is actually makes a meaningful difference, certainly to our business. And being able to produce the results faster makes a meaningful difference to the user experience, which can also make a big difference too. So we're fairly happy with the results we got once we started using the data synthesis techniques. But the team didn't stop there. We also then experimented with using different model families. And so we introduced the Amazon Nova models, which we were fortunate enough to work with the team on prior to their announcement at the conference. And we saw, again, we saw really strong performance. And in fact, these were the best results we found in our evaluations. So we here provided about 10 gold exemplars or golden examples. These are question-answer pairs that are essentially correct, that have been curated by our team. We then used the data synthesis techniques again to augment and diversify that data set. We used the responses from the teacher model, went through the same pipeline, and this time the distilled model actually shows improved performance over and above the teacher model. And honestly, the quantitative data doesn't fully capture how improved this model was. When we look at the underlying data, the qualitative assessment of the team performing the evaluations is that this model was really by far and away the strongest that we had. And it produced the same cost savings and the same time savings that we set out to achieve right at the beginning. So by using Bedrock model distillation, we're able to give our customers faster and cheaper answers whilst maintaining and in some cases exceeding our expectations for accuracy. Over to you, John.
Thank you very much, Richard. All right, so to recap, so far what we've done is we've shared ways to efficiently route your prompts between serverless models with intelligent prompt routing. And we've also found ways to balance accuracy, speed, and cost with model distillation. And what we'll share now is how can you further scale your generative AI workload with additional model choice. To help us understand why model choice is important, I figured let's share some use cases that we're seeing customers take to production in 2025. And we're seeing they're increasingly nuanced use cases. For example, we're seeing customers bringing English and Japanese language translation to documents, and not just general documents, but documents that are specific to the manufacturing industry, for example. We're often seeing financial research analysts looking to use LLMs to summarize that information as well. And this involves looking at various different data, regulatory filings, and understanding those terms. And finally, we're seeing customers release companions, digital companions. And when it comes to having these digital companions, it's important to capture the nuances of how people express themselves, right? So the nuance of local language, slang is actually very important. And while these general purpose serverless models are getting more powerful all the time, there are always these other languages, Asian languages, Southeast Asian languages, right, that customers are starting to use models and want to capture those local idioms as well. So when you distill that up, really it comes down to this need for model choice, right? And the model choice gives our customers a single platform to explore multiple models so they can find the purpose-fit model for their workflow. And these models can bring with it benefits of domain-specific knowledge, as I mentioned. It could be industry-specific knowledge, like finance or legal, or it could be language-specific knowledge. They need to translate between English, Japanese, Korean, for example. Or maybe sometimes they actually just need to do specialized tasks. For example, they could be generating protein sequences or something. Also, these models bring different levels of efficiency for our customers. And we're thinking about efficiency in two factors. One is, of course, the cost of running the model, and the other one is how long it takes to run these models. Right? And there are different aspects that you can think about. They could be smaller models that people are running. They could be distilled models, as we've heard before, and they're distilled models fine-tuned by providers out of the box that people want to use. Or they could just be publicly available models that are free to use that customers want to then customize themselves. So we launched Amazon Bedrock Marketplace, and that brings over 100 publicly available and proprietary models to Bedrock through a serverful offering. Now these models come from over 30 providers, right? And you can choose from a variety of different aspects. For example, you can access the latest models from enterprise providers, such as IBM's Granite 3 models or LGAI Research's EXA-1 3.0 models. You can also access a variety of publicly available models from Hugging Face. Now, if you want to focus on language translation, we also have models from Upstage, Witten AI, and Preferred Network, who focus on translating English to not just Asian languages, but also European languages as well. There are also models that are specialized in certain tasks. You may have attended Matt Garman's keynote, and he mentioned evolutionary scale. We have evolutionary scale's ESM3 model, which can be used to generate protein sequences. And if you're experimenting in different modalities or working in different modalities, you can also access Stability AI's Stable Diffusion 3.5 large model, which is ideal for generating high-quality images. And if you're experimenting in the audio space, you could try out Cam.ai's Mars 6 model, which can be used for audio dubbing. So you can see there's a whole variety of different models now for our customers to enhance their workloads with. And these models come with all the benefits of Amazon Bedrock. Right? They can be used with Bedrock's simple APIs, the Converse APIs, the Invoke APIs, and for models which are compatible with the Converse APIs, they can be used with Amazon Bedrock's tools, such as Amazon Bedrock Agents, Amazon Bedrock Knowledge Bases, guardrails. Now, when it comes to infrastructure, there is a difference, right? So Bedrock is known for its serverless infrastructure. Now, Amazon Bedrock Marketplace comes with a serverful offering, as mentioned, which means customers can choose their instance types, define the number of instances that meet their needs. Now, these instances sit behind SageMaker endpoints, which are then deployed in the customer's account. And customers can configure their scalability using the auto-scaling policies, from SageMaker. When it comes to fine-tuning, if the model meets the architectures of Flan or Mistral or Llama 2 or 3, then customers can fine-tune the models and use Bedrock's custom model import to bring those models into Bedrock. So what are the benefits for our customers? To wrap it up, well, it's a single place to find all these models, and you can access them with those single APIs, whether it's Invoke or Converse APIs. And you can go and use Amazon's simple-to-use tools like agents and knowledge bases with these models, and you can configure your own scalability. So to start using Amazon Bedrock Marketplace, you come to the new model catalog that was also released, where customers can now discover both the serverless models that we have, along with the Bedrock Marketplace models. You click into each of these model cards to learn more about the provider, and then you can then click into the offer or in the EULA terms or the end user license agreement terms set by the provider. You accept them, and then you can configure your endpoints, set the number of instances, select the instance type, and deploy those endpoints. And within a couple of minutes, you can start using this endpoint within Amazon Bedrock. And this is the console experience I'm showing today, but of course, you can also do this through APIs, through your CLI. So to understand the benefits of Amazon Bedrock Marketplace, what I like to do is dive a little deeper into some use cases where some of our customers are using the models from Amazon Bedrock Marketplace. We start with Zendesk. Now, this is an AI-first company that's serving over 100,000 customers, and they're helping customers automate their experiences, optimize their operations, and assist their teams. And customers globally depend on Zendesk to help their customers in the local language. Therefore, it's important for Zendesk AI to have multilingual capabilities. Zendesk looks for the best model for their use cases, and in this particular case, they're planning to integrate Witten's high-performance model, which can be used to translate over 22 languages through Bedrock. And some of the use cases Zendesk is exploring include using AI agents to translate FAQs for their customers into the local languages. And another use case they're considering is an internal use case where they actually use the LLMs to redact out sensitive information, or PII, personally identifiable information. The second use case I'd like to share with you is from a leading South Korean newspaper who's looking to modernize their proofreading methods with Upstage's solar models. Now, in the journalism industry, generating articles quickly and accurately is essential. However, the proofreading process today is still very time-consuming and relies on professional proofreaders. So that's both expensive and also introduces kind of human limitations, where sometimes basic errors are missed, like blank spaces or typos. And in the more difficult areas, contextually inaccurate words are chosen. As an example of that, I'd like you to consider when somebody uses the word discuss and evaluate and pairs those words to describe government policy actions, they convey different meanings to you, right? So you want to pick the right nuanced word for the particular article that you're writing. Now, using Upstage's model, this particular company was able to improve their proofreading accuracy by 57.9%, and they're on track to achieve a rate of error detection and correction of 95%. And now what I'd like to do is turn it over to Oba from Sony, the general manager of Sony, to dive deep into their use case.
Thank you, John. And congratulations to the Bedrock team on such kind of the amazing evolution of the Bedrock. I'm really happy to be here as a partner of your partner. So we Sony Group have the 6 drivers of the business unit. We have the entertainment business, such as the game, picture, music, as well as the manufacturing of the electronic device and the semiconductor. And also we have the financial service in Japan. Our purpose is to fill the world with the emotion through the power of the creativity and the technology. So we believe that the generative AI is a very innovative technology and will be the growth driver for all of the Sony Group business. So that's why we are promoting the democratization of the generative AI with the Bedrock. So generative AI is powerful, and each of the business units have the unique expectation for the generative AI. So as a headquarters of the Sony Group, I'm promoting the AI stack consisting of the 5 layers, not only the application, but also the education and the guardrail for the self-use, and the data utilization, and the platform which provides the LLM capability. And we're deploying this AI stack across the Sony Group. So I will focus on the solution for the democratizing the generative AI. We have the 2 types of the solution. The first one is the enterprise LLM, which is the in-house developed web application. So it is the cloud-native and the auto-scaling application and for the entire Sony Group with the Amazon technology. So this environment is the biggest enterprise application with the 27,000 active users who utilize the generative AI on the day-to-day basis. As well as the enterprise LLM, we are deploying an application called the Playground, which is a very flexible environment for evaluating the business impact of the generative AI. It supports not only the chat type of the application, but also the API service, which can be embedded to the LLM capability onto our business process. So the key to success is to use the right LLM for each use case. So our environment currently offers more than 70 models, and the Amazon Bedrock is the most important source of our LLM. Here is the use case for the generative AI and the Sony group. So the business adaptation of the generative AI is categorized into the 5 purpose and the 10 use case in Sony group. As you can see, there's a lot of the variety of the use case in Sony group. And the typical use case would be the automation of the user inquiry by AI assistant. For AI assistant, the choice of the base model is very important because this case is required to optimize with the specific domain knowledge. In this case, a large parameter high-performance model is not always best choice for us. So performance and the cost and the easiness of tuning is very important in enterprise use. So different use cases have the different expectation for the generative AI and the model itself. So we support the so many models. Of course, Bedrock offers the diverse selection of models, but some use cases require the specialized model for the specific language or specific tasks. So I'd like to share with you some of our expectations for the special model. First, domain-specific model. For it is specialized in the particular domain. So the Sony group has a diverse business portfolio. And there's a strong need for the industry-specific model for each business unit. So because the domain-specific model can be expected to reduce the tuning cost and increase the speed of the business adaptation. And the small language model, we deal with the personal electronic device and the semiconductor. So there's the opportunity to increase what we can offer to our customer if we run the small model on the edge devices. So SLM makes our new possibility of our product. And the last one is the lightweight model. So lightweight model will be very useful in balancing the total cost and the performance in developing the smart AI assistant. The lightweight model makes possible to deploy many of the AI agents efficiently within the enterprise. These 3 are the major expectations for the special model, and that's why we are very excited about the Bedrock Marketplace. For example, the Sony Group is a global company and does business in many regions. So a model optimized for the local language and the local tasks is very important and useful for us. So Japan also have some great model for specialized in the Japanese language and the Japanese domestic style or something like that. So Karakuri and the Preferred Network have developed the super specialty model, and we are very excited to be enabled to bring their excellent model into our ecosystem through the marketplace. Finally, I'd like to share with you our latest architecture of the generative AI for your reference. As I mentioned earlier, our platform is built on the Amazon Web Service and the Amazon Bedrock. The platform consists of the 5 components: workspace, monitoring, a set of the API services, data pipeline, and the LLM capability. The colorful circle shows the Bedrock Marketplace. So you can see that we can easily onboard a variety of the model into our existing ecosystem through the Amazon Bedrock Marketplace. We expect the Bedrock Marketplace will give us more freedom in model selection more widely. So this is the value of the Bedrock Marketplace for us, and we will try to leverage the value of the Bedrock Marketplace. Thank you very much. Back to John.
Thank you, Oba. So to recap today, we covered 3 important things to help you scale your generative AI workload for 2025, or even today. Right? We started with intelligent prompt routing. And you can see how, based on different criteria, whether it's accuracy or maybe it's kind of speed, you can decide which model to route your prompts to. Then we shared model distillation, which we've seen can increase your speed of the inference by up to 500%, and also make it 75% less expensive to run than the original model, with less than a 2% accuracy loss when compared to the parent model for use cases such as RAG. And we wrapped up with Amazon Bedrock Marketplace, which lets you choose from a variety of models so that you can power your generative AI workloads. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and enjoy the remainder of your reInvent.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.